Welcome, I'm Irish Free, and let's build. So today we're gonna do what I call the NAT. I've worked on this for a while. This is a quick build, easy build. If you don't know what you're doing, this should be a pretty easy one to duplicate. So with this build, I built this with atmospheric thrusters. These are two different versions I have. Just kind of showing you the landing gears, the thrusters. See the battery sticking out there. Connector is on top for charging. This one here was probably, this one was my first one. I like it, but I didn't like the bottom. It doesn't look bad. I think it looks just fine. I just didn't like it. I wanted to charge from the top. This one has a little more to it. It has a computer on it, which I don't have on the other one. Lights a little bit different. Put some LCD panels, shows your battery life. I think when you start building, it just comes down to what you like to do, what you don't like. And there's obviously really advanced builds out there that implicate a whole lot of stuff in there, or put in a whole bunch. So this is my second build, and it was a little more simplistic. Didn't put as much stuff on there. Did put the antenna, obviously. Came out pretty good. Let's get in it real quick. Show it off, then we'll start building. So, as you can see here, first one, the first on the hotbar, the number one key is a locking, because we all played this game long enough. We all know about Lord Kling, and Lord Kling likes to destroy stuff quite often. So I lock it so it doesn't jump around as much. For whatever reason, it does that. Unlock. So then we're going to swing our hinges, piston. Then we get that really clean look as we fly around. And yes, I do lock it again, just in case. Because over time, I've noticed this stuff, even with hinge lock, it will still sag. Yeah, I think that gives it a pretty clean look overall. We'll pull it back out. Probably could make that faster. Little lander. Turn that off. Go ahead, just turn it off. So in that aspect, I also have a moon base in space. So you gotta have something that's not atmospheric. We used straight up ion thrusters on this one. Obviously it won't fly down here, so I won't try to fly it. And just know I don't build with mods. I do use some scripts, nothing crazy. I just don't like to get into mods too much. It's just not my thing, even though there's a lot of amazing mods out there. But this one's basically exactly a blueprint of the first one over here. Just obviously with the ion thrusters on it. Little bit of flare on it here, just to make it look a little bit better with the line flowing of the lines and such from the cabin. It is also a top connecting piece for recharge. And yeah, this one also has the antenna, and I only needed to use one gyro on this. It maneuvers pretty fast. In fact, let me just show that off real quick. Go in the first person. But you can see this thing is pretty quick, pretty nimble. That's why I like it, and that's why I call it the NAT. Now this doesn't, I don't believe this has a whole lot of stopping thrusters. Doesn't really need it. Whoops. There we go. Safely land this. You do it too fast, obviously. If you've flown anything in Space Engineers, you know you'll probably break.
Fuel critical.
Oh, okay. I was wrong. I have 2 braking thrusters there. I don't even know if I had any on this. Yeah, guess I did. But if you notice on this build, there was no up thrusters. Didn't need it either, because it's such a tiny little light build. But I used upward thrusters on this one just so I didn't have to block it out. I thought this had a better look to it. And so I'm gonna go hit G. We're gonna go up to actually let's go to small blocks. What we're gonna want is a landing gear to start with. And you can build this however you want. I mean, there's no rules, obviously, to this. 9. I mean, if you double tap the whatever you're pulling, it will go to the small version. That's what we're building instead of large, because these are large blocks that I built the set on. And there. So, doesn't really matter how this is placed, other than the fact of the direction you want it to go. See, technically the backwards, but because the front would be right here, this is the back. But I don't really care about that. We don't need that. This is pretty much how I build all my builds. Because from the day one when I bought this game, in the early days, this is how I learned. So as you can see, you can really just start with hit G again. We can start with cockpits. And I use industrial cockpit. So this is obviously a DLC. When you see little icons next to it, if you don't already know, that just means it's part of a DLC. Pull that in. Next, we're gonna probably let's put a battery so we can make this whole little hall here the main piece all together. Actually, as I noticed, there's a slope. Yeah, we should be able to do that. G, find battery. And I'm also going to go ahead and pull out a connector. When you're doing builds, when you're first starting out, if you're not very good at building, maybe you just go to the workshop, download somebody's, and try to replicate what they have, and that can mean reverse engineering everything. Slowly tear it down just to see the pieces that you might need. Sorry, I'm just kind of scrolling here, finding somebody else's build that I've looked at or played around with. Some of these builds, they don't always tell you that they're modded, but some of these builds are modded. Like this one's modded with a different cockpit that you can't get in the base. Planet Escape Rocket. I think this is the one I used when I very first started trying to learn how to get off the damn planet. So, you know, you take somebody else's build. I guess I should mention I am not in full survival mode. I do Alt F10 and I enable creative mode tools. This way I can build faster. I did used to build everything I did was completely survival, but you'll learn that if you do that, it takes astronomical amount of time. So this is definitely speeds up your process builds and definitely worth playing in versus playing just straight up survival mode, trying to build something that looks good and that's going to work with balance and everything else. When you get to building bigger ships, it's already time consuming enough to build stuff. So when you get to a bigger ship, it's going to take you forever. And if you get the time, sure, if you want to, that's how you want to roll. That's, you know, to each his own.
Fuel critical.
So I'm gonna go put this battery back on, but you can see right here, like this is how I placed the battery. I can still see it's charged, so I don't really need a readout. But if you want the readout, like I did on the other build, you know, you can put it in however you want. So we can play with this for a minute. Let's see. If you don't know how to rotate, it's your keys above the arrow keys, like the delete key, the page up, page down, all of those keys, that 6 keys. That's how we rotate. So I did it like this. You could do it like this. However you do it like this, you will never see the readout of the battery because we're putting panels on this thing right here to cover up the battery. So we're going to go right ahead. In. So another thing I would suggest when you first do this, and you, regardless if you have a cockpit on there or not, just put a flight seat out or control panel, whatever, just to turn off that battery. You don't want to waste that battery, especially if you're playing in hardcore mode or survival mode, and you just welded that sucker together, all those power cells. Well, and then you end up running out of battery. Not a good idea, because then you have to tear that thing back down, re-put it back together, so on. So it's a lot of time wasted. I'm gonna remove the weather real quick. There we go. Now we're gonna add our connector. This is what charges this guy, keeping it flush, so that way it doesn't stick out. It doesn't look ugly. I think it goes with the line of the ship. That's really the, you know, the whole aspect here, is keeping it looking good. That's all I like to do. I like to build. I'm not a real big guy in survival of how to teach you how to do this or how to do that. I can do certain things like that, but my main focus is that I like to do is build. Just like to build stuff. So as we look here, it looks like I used one block, so that way we could start. Don't have to do it that way, but that's where I chose to put the gyro. What I will say about building is, you know, keep it open, keep it free. You'll figure out little nooks and crannies. Oh, I can fit this here, fit that there. That might look better. You know, you just play around with it. This is why building takes so long, because you can build your base ships or whatever, and then you're like, I don't really care for that look. Let me change it up, and then you spend another 10 hours building on something this small just because you want it to look a little bit better. I do it all the time. Especially on my current build right now. It's a little bit bigger than this, but I've probably been working on it for days just because I come back and I look at something, I'm like, a different angle, different perspective. I'm like, you know what, I can make that look a little bit better. So then we're going to move on. So let's see. Where did we place that block? Okay, right on that connector piece. So 5 is my block. And then we're just going to go find some thrusters. Again, I have the DLC pack. This does not require the DLC pack. Everything I'm building, at least on this build, does not require the DLC pack at all. None of it does. Well, I take that back. So this guy does. I should rephrase that. Yes. Cockpit does. So let me look. I mean, you could use this one. Obviously, it's not going to look as good. But the same purpose. It's still going to look alright, and it's still small, and it still will do what you want it to do. And I'll say this about their DLC packs. I play a lot of different games. Their DLC packs are well worth the money they put out. They put out a lot of pieces. A lot of skins up here. All these are really, really nice that they keep adding to, and I hope they keep adding more. It's really made the game a lot better, especially the different block types that they've added. Immensely helps builds. So then we're going to move on. So what are we doing? Thrusters. I didn't even add it. Thrusters. Let's go. Atmospheric thrusters. I used, I believe, the sci-fi. Yeah, these guys. So I'm going to just go ahead and replace that one. 1, 2, 3. So how I just did that is I just held Alt down. You can set it up in a couple different ways in their option menus to do it. I don't really do the mirroring. Just confusing and harder for me. So I just hold down Alt, left click, and then drag it out. You can delete the same way. So we did 3 thrusters. Then we did a thruster like that to give you a forward thrust. Is that right? Nope, that's not right. See why this is helpful when you're learning to build something, especially off of referencing something else. You want to make something better or different, or maybe more your taste of spin. I do that too. I find somebody's really cool build, and I just kind of added stuff to it so that I like it. I did one of MRAPs. I don't know who built it. I'd have to go look again, but I just made my MRAP a little bit better and for what I like to do. So here, let's see what we did. Now this, you can use normal blocks. I did not use normal blocks. This is part of a DLC. I used, I'm not sure what they call it. Looks more like a construction beams. It's a little more raw look. And these right in here is what I used. So I used this one, which is the beam block, just a regular beam block. And then I used an angled one. Let's go look. So I'm going to use my welder to identify what I used. Beam block slope. And if you want, you can just type it instead of going down. We want beam block slope. This one. Put it where the cockpit was. I think I did the slope first. 6. Tear it up. 7. I want this to face out so you can actually see it. See, I mean, it kind of gets pushed down in there, but I still like the style points. All that so we can add forward thrusters and the antenna. Boom. So you can already start seeing this shape of the NAT coming out already. Looking pretty good, I think. I really like this build. It was one I did like 6 months ago or more. We'll wait on adding that antenna. We'll go over to, if you don't know, you can Alt 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever, to 9. And I use that a lot when I build, so it goes a lot faster. I have my series down here. I'm still trying to get better at it, but you know, when you first start, you get in the habit of just using the 1. But here, 6, I already have my flat panels ready to go, so I can knock those out real quick. And as you can see, oops, 2. We want the straight one. Boom, 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 boom. And you can do a whole lot with these. I think that it's pretty fun because you can really cover up a lot of stuff or make some other cool objects out of them. I've done. We'll get to some of the builds, other builds I've done. I got a dog over there. Where you can make, like, say if you're building a car, you can make little scoops out of them, like a hood scoop or a side air vent scoop. It's little things you can add to these builds that make it look a little bit better. And you can also cover up some of these lines so you don't have to see, like over here you can see these gray lines. It helps cover those up on these edges. So here I did, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2. And I always be cognitive of whatever you're using over here. I like the carbon fiber look in a lot of builds. I don't use it in every build. But you can see the line they add. I wish they didn't do that, or at least they would give you an option to get rid of that, but you don't get that choice. So, one you could do is this one, the weldless armor. I feel like that was a newer one that they've added, but I could be completely wrong. It does pretty well without having any. Oops, get out of that. As you can see here, when you put this down, damn, look at that. That's nice. There's no nothing, no borders, no design in that thing or nothing. So, but it does give it a flat look. So that's kind of where I like the carbon fiber look. Uh-oh. There we go. Froze up for a second. So, looks like this one all the way back here before you can connect it. So it's all 3 of these here are actually held on by this one right here. So if you knock that piece loose, those panels will fall off. So I'm going to go hit P again. We're going to do the gold plating. Obviously, gold plating, you don't have to change the color because it's gold plating. That's how they designed it. Look at that. You could literally take that. Oh, I was wrong. You could take that all the way out if you really want to, because it's all being held off that one. But here we just did 4 because I did like the design here. A little depth there you like to show off. I guess I also covered this up. That would make sense. And then, is that right? I know what I did. Here. Boom. Go back. We're gonna go back to carbon fiber. And you can do this afterwards if you want. Just keep it all one color build. It's probably a whole lot easier to do that. So I did 3. So as you're fiddling around, this is just the design I came up with because I wanted to see a little bit of that battery, and I wanted to look like a slope. And they only have certain angles, obviously, in the game for this. But This is a slope design I liked. You could keep it boxy if you wanted. However you want to do it. So we're going to see 4 is not the right one. So 6 is the right one. So like that. So where do we do? And you don't have to put that LCD screen in there. You can just keep it all panels if you want. So we did 3 panels of the regular panel. I don't think we did it there. Maybe we did because the slope. Okay. Yeah. And then 1 below. Is that too many? It might feels like too many. 1, 2, so really we just did this. Top was 2. I mean, you could really just do that. Not sure why I didn't do it. Maybe just a miss on my part. I don't know. I think that looks a little bit better to have it not asymmetrical, but symmetrical, sort of. At least for these 3 blocks here. This is a symmetrical piece here. This turns into asymmetrical. Sorry for the art lesson there. Up here, what did we do? 3? Yeah, we did 3. Then we did, I think it was actually a 6 different angle. What is that one called? The right 2x1. Actually, I think it is the left 2x1 because the angle we want to make this. Nope. Yep, there it is. I tell you what, when you're building and trying to find those angles to place these blocks, you can sit there a while and rack your brain on some of these blocks to finally figure out the load out that you want it to look like. So we did 3, so we need that one gone, which I believe was the right. Yes. And then this one's here, and then we'll do 5, which is the left tip. Sorry, it's the right tip. There we go. So design-wise, you're starting to catch how quickly this build can really go. I'm gonna go back to 1, add these thrusters, and then it doesn't matter about the order on these because it's just side to side. You're just controlling your side to side, keeping a balanced ship can sometimes be the toughest. So we also need a gyro. Let's put it to battery. And that's just where I decided to put the gyro. You could try to put it somewhere else, maybe on top of there. Maybe see if there's any space for it anywhere else. You'd put it right here, I guess. But problem is the thruster could end up burning that sucker up real quick and damaging it. Probably put it down here if you wanted, but I chose to put lights down there. I really wish I could put lights right here. That would make too much sense. But I haven't figured out a way to do that. So this is the landing gear I chose to make, and understand it doesn't lock on like this landing gear does. We hit P and it locks it to the whatever ground you're on. So that's why you really gotta be careful when you fly these homemade gears, if you will, because you'll break them real easy. So I did a piston and 2 hinges on this, and I used those construction blocks. I don't know. the beam blocks. I think it just makes it look a little bit better. And I don't think I did any adjustment on these, like angle wise on these hinges. -90 up, 90 upper, 90 -90 lower. That way it does a full swing for you.
Fuel critical.
Didn't adjust the piston whatsoever. But placement, whoops, the placement of the piston can be important. This, it'll still balance if it was completely retracted and you landed. It just moves a whole lot more sitting here. That's why I wanted it out, so that the main weight of this is balanced well enough to hold. And it doesn't jump around so much. I mean, it'll move a little bit just because that's what happens when you use pistons and hinges and rotors and other things that create a subgrid. So technically this thing will fly right now. But let's put some pistons and hinges on. We'll go. I probably shouldn't have done that because then I could reuse those blocks. It's alright. Piston. Actually, I want to make sure I did that right. Because if you don't do it right and you put it to this and it's not connected to this, when you take this apart, it'll fall off. Could fall off. I shouldn't say it would fall off. Because I believe it might be a connecting side. Not all parts connect to every side of itself. And here. All right. Let's see. Been a minute since I... Oh, that's right. Yeah. So we want to connect it straight up. Yeah. So if we turn it on, hinge, see if we hook this up right or not. Doesn't look like it. I don't even see the hinge. Oh, there's something wrong.
Fuel critical.
Must have done the hinge part instead of the actual hinge. Small blocks on some things and large block on certain things, you gotta kind of read sometimes. Pictures don't always get you there. And I'm a bad habit about that. I like to do my hinges or do things off pictures instead of read so much. Put the other one up here. Now what I'm gonna do, turn this on, hit I, control panel, both my hinges. I want to reverse them. I hit V just so I might not be able to do it as close as I want. Okay, fine.
Fuel critical.
Oh, gotta set a velocity speed. I'm gonna hit Alt or left control, left click. That gives me I can do a precision instead of just sliding it. So, just so you know, we'll just go with 5.
Fuel
Later, you can mess with however you want this to be done. Let's see, 7. Can I still build? Yes, I can. So I did 1, 2, 3. So 3 blocks, but I did one like this. One like that. Did you want it back? No, I did not. Let's see. We did beam block 2x1 base and tip. Base. Nope. Nope. Tip. So 8. Just what we want. Base. Base. 9 is the tip. Heh. Tip. So we're gonna do the base and tip again. And there we go. So there's your landing gear. That's all done. So pretty much, I mean, this build's pretty much done. It's completed, ready to go. Flying wise, for sure. But we'll go ahead and finish up the paneling. 6, 1, I think this is what I used. I'm gonna go ahead. Gold. There you go. Get that little stripe, keep that flow going into. And we'll go back to 2 for the flat panel. One, 2, 3, 4. And then 1. Go back to carbon fiber. 2, which is flat panel. All my lines go in the same direction. Boom. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1 down below, and then we're gonna do 4. Up. Up. And let's see. 5 is the left tip. Let's see if that's right. I don't think it is. Yeah, it is. Okay. What do we do at the top? 3 panels with a slope. 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is the slope panel. More of a half slope, if you will. 6. And there it is. Bam. Now you just need to really charge it, get a full battery out of it. Let's see. Set up the cockpit too. So in here in the cockpit, I have the lights, the thrusters, the battery, pistons, and 2 hinges. So one's a hinge lock, one's the actual turning of the hinge. 3 is just the piston. So in and out. The battery is for recharging. So you hit 4, you'll set it to recharge. 5 to turn on off thrusters while it sits there. And the lights, the lights are on off.
Fuel critical.
You're about to see why. So if we come in here, I'm going to go control panel. I'm going to start off with, I don't have any guns on this thing. So for me, it just annoys me to see the little circle lock for targeting. I just go ahead and turn that sucker right on off. If you want to set up your interior, let's go look at that right quick. All these little guys, the 3 panels at the top, easy enough. You can change it. They've made this so much simpler than it used to be. So top left screen, this screen, top left. Do we want the hydrogen? We don't have hydrogen. All we have is power. So it does have the energy level, which isn't a bad thing. I believe I did a clock on this one though. So I suggest changing it before you change the color. Otherwise you'll have to change it again. So let's do digital clock on this. I'm going to come down here. I want red for the text, black all down. If you want white, it's all up. That is very bright, so I want that. I'm going to come back up here, center screen, so it's the miles an hour. That's fine. How fast we's going. I don't really care about the gravity field on the right screen, so we're gonna change that to something else. You can do faction icon. I mean, obviously you can do whatever you want here. Trying to remember what I did in the other one. I may have to go back and look. I might have just done.
Critical.
Let's look. Boom. Ah, yes.
Fuel.
That's a look I like. So, this is, go back, cockpit here. We're going to change the center screen to artificial horizon. So it tells you the tilt. I mean, you can look at the bottom right. Yes, that gives you the tilt. And the, whatever is. I'm not an expert at flying in real life, so I have really no clue what that stuff's called. The X and the Y axis, if you will. That way, you don't always have to look down, and you can see it. Get full immersion. So we're gonna go back up to the right screen. This is where we're gonna do how fast we're going. Gravity velocity. Here, here, here. Turn it black. Looks so much better, right? Alright.
Fuel.
It's getting
critical.
dark in here in the sun. Let's crank that sun back here real quick. There we go. Done. Okay. Get back in. Hit I, control panel. We want to group some of this stuff together. Yes. So these are all thrusters. What I just did is a common thing on computers in general. Click here, hold down shift, click the bottom, bam. I'm going to name these thrusters. I suggest naming something. Your naming convention, you got to remember everything when you do a naming convention. So if you just name everything, like say on sensors, you just name it sensor 1, sensor 2, sensor 3. Well, good luck trying to figure out where sensor 1 was, unless you just have that kind of a memory. Better than I am. So I just named thrusters. That's all we got. I just want those on off. Hinges, we want to group those together. You can name them hinges or landing gear, whatever helps you remember, but here again, we only have one set of hinges for one thing, so I'm just going to label them hinges. And I think that's all we need. So we go back here. That's wrong. Hit G. That's what we want. Groups or all blocks. Because we're gonna do battery first. That's my rule of thumb. I like to do battery first. We want that to be on recharge. Sorry, I did that a little fast. You just drag it down here, and it's automatically gonna pop up your menu of what selections you want. I want recharge. Then let's see, piston. Let's do hinges first. So I want to go to group. I want to do hinges. I'm going to do this one as a lock first. Hinge lock on off. That's what we want. Same group, different hotkey. We want this to do a reverse, so it goes forward, and then you hit again, it goes backwards. Then I'm going to go thrusters. Just an on-off. And all blocks. Oh, I didn't put the light on. Let's put the light on real quick. Obviously, you can do any light you want. If you got the DLCs, they added a few different looking lights. I like them a little bit better. So, actually, we need to wait. Let's just go ahead and bring this sucker down. Thrusters. I think the thrusters are on. We'll find out. And there we go. So we want that last block move. I'm just going to let her do her thing here. She's not moving fast. So you can do it however you want. Boom. There's the light. Let's see. I'll straighten her out here. We'll do 4. Turn it off. Look, it still lands just fine. But as you can see, it starts to shake. Good old Lord Kling for you. Anywho, I'm going to turn thrusters back on. Elevate. Oh, that's what I forgot. Go back to G. We're gonna remove this real quick. And I want to bring my piston down. We want this as a reverse as well. Then groups, thrusters. We want that as an on-off. All blocks for the light is an on-off. So if it's parked somewhere and you just don't want, and it's still on as to a connector, that way you stay on and charging all the time, and you just turn the light off. Don't get blinded. So 5. Oh, that's what I was gonna do. Let's hit 4 real quick. We're gonna see. There we go. And a lander. And there it is. So now I can hit Y to turn off.
Fuel critical.
And that is our build for the day. Now, if you want to spice it up, adding stuff like an antenna, I add an antenna that way you can find it. It's also labeled. You can label it in there. Boom. So if you come in here, control panel. Let's find our antenna. We want our range to be boosted to max. Just know it does suck everything out. Like it uses extra power is what I'm trying to say. So antenna name, I just want to name this. Oops. Ant. Or actually Ant. Not that name, but NAT. NAT. And then I believe we go to here. Information, small grid name, and we want to name that NAT as well, so we know what it is from a distance. So if I hit H, there we go. It's detected. It'll show up what it is. I may not have. AT. Yeah. All right.
Fuel critical.
And that's how we build the NAT. Pretty easy, quick, and simple. It is not on the workshop. I only have one build on the workshop. Maybe I'll change that at some point. I don't know. But at least you know how to build it. You can do it yourself. I think that's a sense of accomplishment in its own right. When you start learning how to build little cool things or big things, building in general is fun. All right, that's it for today. I appreciate everybody who watched. Maybe hopefully you learned something, and my next episode I'll show you another build. It'll probably be a little bit bigger than this. I just thought this would be a good starting build for anybody who doesn't know how to build it whatsoever, or just wants to learn how to build something different and new. I like building large grid stuff, but lately I've been into a small grid mode, so I've been building small grid things, because if you build something like this on a big grid, you can do it, but it kind of has to be not as big as it can't be huge. Otherwise, this stuff will get crushed. The landing gears, all this material, it just won't hold it. You have to find a different way of building it. I have yet to find a way without it crushing what's underneath it. So I still use landing gears on bigger builds. So that's all I have for today. Thank you, and we'll see you next time, guys.